What's good people, and welcome to episode 18 of It's Just Not Adding Up. You want to experience my blackness. You don't want to experience me. You want to experience my, big black. I'm OBO, and over the years I've noticed gay is a scary word for a lot of people, which is wild because it's just gay. But don't worry, I've decided to be your gay coach. Everyone's talking about equality and love, but I don't know. It's just not adding up. So, the $1 million question, can you have a racial preference for your friends and for your partner? Now, when talking about race as it relates to sexuality or sexual orientation, it's been a very interesting space to gather notes, right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking how in a perfect world, right? Like, because we're marginalized already, you would think we would come together, right? But then I started to think, are we all marginalized in the same way? Like, is there a collective struggle that exists amongst all races as it relates to sexuality? I don't know. When you Google gay pride, you see nothing but white people. You see white people gathering, you see white people in the streets, you see white people, during the parades and all the things, but you don't see a black person. There's this difference between what I guess the overarching gay pride is, and then there's this black pride that we've created for ourselves to be celebrated in our very specific way. But it's interesting that that's even necessary, which then had me thinking, I don't think the fight is as collective as I assumed it was. I think outside of religion, there may be a very different experience that other races have with the sexual orientation. I think masculinity plays a big part in the judgment attached to sexual orientation within black spaces, right? It's not just religion, it's also masculinity versus femininity, right? And like the assumption that you will become feminine, which then puts you lower on the totem pole, because again, there's also a question of, are you black first or gay first? And for a lot of people, they feel black first, me included. And so there's this push that you need to be the best, and femininity won't be respected, and you definitely need to maintain your respect as a black man in society. But I think in white spaces, there's this religion, yes, but I don't know there's this big push for behavior, right? Like, we've seen straight men behave in ways that we would never see black men behave, right? That we would judge black men for. And I'm not giving credit to judging people for their behaviors. I'm just talking about the difference between the two, which kind of leads me into the idea that some black men go over into white spaces to be accepted, right? Like, if you are a little bit more effeminate, if you do feel more comfortable and confident in your sexuality, a lot of black men that I've talked to who are in white spaces felt like in black spaces, they were hidden. It was always this air of secrecy, right? Like, I didn't feel that I could be my flamboyant self, or my flamboyant self wouldn't be celebrated in black space. I was watching a video with Ricky Thompson. He's a popular YouTuber, content creator, all the things. And he was talking about how he's dating a white guy and how in black spaces, he really wasn't welcome. Like, a lot of black guys just weren't here for him. We rockin' stiletto. I'm not here to justify or not justify anybody's behavior based on who they feel most comfortable around, but I do think that some of this is not just rooted in comfort, where we often ignore blatant racism in the space, right? I think because we're both marginalized, we often feel like, I don't want to call a thing because we share in the fact that we are both stigmatized and marginalized and all the things, but you kind of can't skirt around the fact that racism is a real thing that exists not only in the world, right, but in also these micro spaces, right? Like, there's a lot of things that take place within the gay spaces that are just baseline racist, right? Like, we're not gonna act like it's not. I'm going on a limb here. I think being marginalized puts you in position to not have to take accountability for certain prejudices. Like, in certain spaces, you feel like, well, I'm gay, so I'm not racist because I'm like you. But I think what's happening is we're seeing a space where we think that it's transcending racial division, but in actuality, it's still maintaining it just in the same space. It's similar, not the same, but similar to I'm not racist, I have a black friend, right? And I think likewise, there's this really interesting space that relates to we're all gay, but some of us are gayer than others.
What?
Some of us sit higher on the totem pole. Some of our gayness is second to other things, right? Like even with me walking on the street, my queerness is second to my masculinity, right? Or to an opposing person, or to someone else, it may be my queerness is second to my whiteness. Like whatever the case may be. And I think what you see in certain gay spaces is people playing up their privilege. I don't want to ignore cultural difference in this conversation. I think it's a necessary component. For me and another black man, I will feel more understood based on the things that we experience in this community. Not just because of the negatives, but also some of the positives. And because of all those things, I will find myself feeling more comfortable and confident amongst people who are also black. However, there's a big difference between being pro something and being anti something. Because I'm pro-black does not make me anti-white. And often it feels like there's an anti-blackness thing happening. So what do we do, right? And I think what we need to do is lead with love and understanding. At the end of it all, race is a thing. Saying that you don't see color is... So what can we do in these spaces? How can we make the spaces better? What I think we can do is try to understand. I think really what we're seeing is a byproduct of laziness. You just simply don't want to do the work. Some of these conversations feel like, oh, well, include some blacks, throw us a bone. And that's not what it is. What we're saying is, I want the spaces to feel indicative of the world we live in, which is multicultural, which is multiracial, which is all these different, as a melting pot of people, and to act as if that doesn't exist, or to act as though there's a favor being given because you're including other people.
Somebody lied to her several times and told her that she was fly, hot, and sexy and beautiful, and she's nothing like that. She's nothing of the sort.
So honestly, ask the right questions, do the right research, and lead with love. And we'll see some changes happening. If you are a racist, stop. If you feel like you're just racially prejudiced, stop. If you feel like race is a thing you're afraid of, address those fears quickly and lead with love. Like lead with love. At the end of the day, don't use the stereotypical things that you've heard or the ways in which the news or media has skewed your perception of blackness to allow you to then do the same things. Hopefully this video gave you some insight. Hopefully this video allows you to check yourself in some ways. Please comment below your experience. Please comment below anything you think that can push the needle forward, because we're all about creating space on this channel. I'll see you guys in episode 19. Keep creating space. Peace.